As Russia-Ukraine war enters the 13th day on March 8, 2022, Ukrainian forces have been winning applauds from their Western allies for managing to hold out against their enemies. Analysts say their performance against a far superior and bigger army has been the result of a combination of good preparation, national solidarity as well as Russian errors. However, the future remains unclear, with Russian President Vladimir Putin repeatedly declaring that nothing will stand between him and his goals in Ukraine. An AFP report brings to light some factors that might have retarded or perhaps stalled the Russian advance. Number 1. Ukraine, with Western countries' help, substantially enhanced its armed forces after 2014, when Russia annexed the Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea in a lightning operation and pro-Russian separatists overran parts of the east of the country. In 2016, NATO and Kyiv began a training program for Ukrainian special forces, who now number 2,000 and have been able to help civilian volunteers. According to Douglas London, adjunct associate professor at Georgetown University, Ukrainians had spent the last 8 years planning, training and equipping themselves for resisting a Russian occupation. Understanding that the US and NATO won't come to its rescue on the battlefield, Ukrainians' strategy had been focused on bleeding Moscow so as to make occupation untenable. Number 2, Russia, relying on Soviet-era familiarity with an area, appeared to have underestimated the Ukrainian forces' home turf advantage. This included both knowledge of the terrain and the capacity of locals to themselves take up arms against the invading forces. Number 3, led by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has remained in Kyiv despite the risk to his life, Ukrainians have shown the deepest resilience in adversity. Ordinary citizens have volunteered for the front line, often after ensuring their families were safely headed to security in the west of the country or outside its borders. Images circulating online have shown ordinary people making Molotov cocktails or farmers stowing away captured Russian military hardware. Number 4, strategic errors. That is, military analysts say Russia made strategic errors in the early days of the invasion after it was launched on February 24th. It sent in too few ground troops in the initial phase, besides failing to get ground and air forces working in tandem. According to Michael Kaufman, director of Russia Studies program at the Center for Naval Analysis in the US, it appeared Moscow expected to achieve military success within days. At the outset, they thought they could introduce units very quickly into the capital Kyiv, but very early on they got bloody noses. The assumptions were ridiculous. How could you take Kyiv in 3 days? The Russian military has now adjusted and is trying to conduct this as a combined arms operation, he explains. Number 5, and the last factor pointed out, is Russia's psychological fear. Russia had set alarm bells ringing across the world by keeping tens of thousands of troops deployed close to the border with Ukraine over recent weeks. Many didn't have any idea that they were about to be sent to war in a neighboring country whose inhabitants are fellow Slavs and where many speak Russian as their mother tongue. Heavy Russian war casualties, which according to the French source included at least one major general, might have killed Russian soldiers' morale. Tom Pepinski, non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, said evidence so far suggested that Ukraine's treatment of Russian prisoners of war could become harsher as the invasion continues deep into the country.